I would to go back to the beginning, I would maybe think about the band name a little bit more.
Hey guys, James Wilson Taylor here for rocksound with another of our video calls. We are catching up with everybody while we're all stuck at home. I'm delighted to say from State Champs, Derek's on the line. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Surviving in this strange time. And
we're just surviving, man.
That's it. Well, that's how we've started them all, man. Just making sure. I really do hope, you and all your loved ones, you staying as safe and as healthy as you can in this strange time we're finding ourselves in.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. It's ups and downs, as well as everybody could. I know some people that have, contracted the virus and whatnot. It's kind of trickled into the family and whatnot, but mostly with no symptoms, and everybody's gotten through it well. So that's good. Doing what we can, at least. It's everywhere, so you got to just kind of do your part.
Yeah, no, wise words there for sure. In terms of the band stuff, I mean, we'll come on to the new release and all the kind of stuff you've actually been up to in lockdown, but just from a basic point of view, how's that communication going? Are you all quite far away where you're living, or how does it kind of work in terms of getting the guys together for work things?
Yeah, as far as the band goes, we're all scattered in the U.S. I'm the only one in New York now. We got Evan in Connecticut, Ryan in L.A., and Tyler in Ohio. So we're about as spread apart as you could be in the U.S. We can't even really get together and have things like band practice anymore. So we've kind of relied on things like Zoom and group chats and everything. And honestly, our communication's maybe been better than it ever has. I think when we're off tour, usually we're just like, okay, see ya. Like we don't really like talking. We like our time away. I guess with a band like us, we tour for like 8 months out of the year. So we rarely get the time away from each other. So I guess we're so used to like not talking as much, but now we're starting to miss each other. And it's a very rare thing. So we do these weekly band Zoom meetings and talk about new stuff. And especially now that we've got some new music and we're talking about little events going on, and it's starting to feel like we're a band again, and it's starting to feel refreshing. So it's been working out pretty well.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. That's good to hear. And let's talk about that new music. I mean, first of all, it's part of this Acoustic Unplugged EP that you're putting out there. I guess let's start with that. When did that idea begin? The idea that you guys wanted to strip it back and do something acoustic this time around?
I think about the end of last year, we started talking about it. It's been about 5 years since we did any sort of acoustic music before, and it's always been a big hit with the fans. We did the Acoustic Things, it was called, right after our first album, where we did acoustic stripped down versions of our first album songs, and then we added 2 new ones, one being If I'm Lucky and then Leave You in the Dark. So this time around, we wanted it to be more fresh and have more newer music rather than just like the pop punk versions of acoustic songs. We didn't want to think about it like that. So we wrote 4 new songs, and there's 4 brand new fresh acoustic songs on this. And then 2 versions of we're calling them kind of reimagined versions of songs from our latest album, Living Proof. We didn't want to just play them as if they were just songs like band practice on acoustic guitars and that's that. We wanted to think about it a little differently. So with songs like Criminal on our last album, we took that fast punky song and turned it into like a folk song, I guess, or like something kind of different.
It's a little folky. It's
a little folky, like bluegrassy. I don't know how to really explain it. And then the 4 new songs, we just didn't really even think about State Champs. We just thought about 4 guys in a room writing songs. So we it made us think of ourselves as more just like songwriters, I guess. And we came up with things that are pretty cool for State Champs. I mean, it's still us because I'm still singing on it. So you hear that, and I guess that you go, oh, State Champs. But as far as musically and sonically, we've got some very interesting stuff on here. I can't wait for people to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's interesting to hear that you just kind of, I guess, kind of freeing to just go, yeah, let's just write some songs and maybe play with this instrumentation and see what happens, and not necessarily be married to the past. But with revisiting some of the songs from the last album, what I found interesting is which ones you selected, because like you say, a song like Criminal, particularly in that last tour, it's a big tune. It's a big, fast-paced, big pop punk
that's
sound.
the Circle Pit, like
exactly.
Open This Place Up song, and then and then we broke out a slide guitar. So it's like there's so much difference. There's such a big contrast between the full band version and the acoustic version, and I think people can kind of appreciate that. I think us as a band, we can appreciate how far we took it. So we kind of wanted to push ourselves, challenge ourselves a little bit, especially during these times.
Yeah, smart idea. Smart idea to kind of take ones and just completely flip it, maybe ones you wouldn't expect. Because like you say, yeah, I guess that's a typical thing. If you've got a very slow song, you maybe want to play that and strip it back. But no, I like the idea of going all out with the big, high energy pop punk, and let's change that entirely.
Yeah, and I'll reveal a little secret for the other one, because we did Dead and Gone as well. And in Dead and Gone, on the chorus of the song, there's a hard F-bomb in it where we swear. And for the acoustic version this time around, we wanted to be able to show our grandmothers this version. So there's no swearing in the acoustic Dead and Gone version. And I won't give it away what it is, but I think everyone's going to be pleasantly surprised with what we've changed it to for this. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. One to look out for, man. Yeah, there we go. The nice family-friendly version. Right.
It's a family-friendly version of a song called Dead and Gone.
Got to make it family-friendly somehow. I like that. That's a good idea.
So hopefully it works for those inclined.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the new music on there then, because like you say, it was a different approach. You're not necessarily thinking about it in terms of the whole band stuff, but you clearly didn't restrict yourselves as songwriters for this. We're aiming for any particular kind of sound, just the instruments, I suppose. It's kind of the setup. Is that how it kind of came together?
Yeah. So I think we spent a few weeks out in the studio in Indiana with our producer, Seth Henderson, who we've become really, really close with. So it was a nice, comfortable setting for us. But as far as pushing ourselves, we didn't have anything written going into this process. So we kind of just got in the studio, and in the 2 weeks, we would take maybe like a 2-3 day period at a time and be like, all right, let's write a song from scratch, which is something different. We've never really done that before. Just sat like us as a band in a room, and it would either start from maybe like a one-liner, like lyrical note that I had in my phone or something, or maybe an acoustic riff that Ryan had in his pocket in a voice memo or something. And then whatever would take us to get stoked and get motivated, be like, oh, that's sick, let's go, and spend a day on that. By the end of the day, we'd have a very good, instrumental sketched out like skeleton of a song. So then we'd have to spend some time lyrically on it. And it was cool. I think every like 3 or 4 days we'd be like, oh, we got something special here. And like I said, we weren't really thinking about, oh man, our fans aren't going to really like this because it's not pop punk enough. We've got two like really like kind of like darker, more emotional songs, one being Crying Out Loud that we just released pretty recently, and then another one called there's like 2 sad ones and 2 happy ones. Basically, we kind of like we use both sides of the spectrum. But and then musically too, we kind of experimented with a lot of different stuff too. There's some like electronic elements on here. There's some like very cool percussion stuff that we've never messed with before, and just a lot of different things that we weren't afraid to like take chances with on this time. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really, really cool. In terms of the 4 that ended up on the actual final EP, then is that the sum total? Were you like, let's work on these 4 big ideas, or are there other things that have been left on the cutting room floor from these experimental sessions?
I think there was a few. I think we maybe wrote like 6 or 7 songs and then ended up with the 4. But I mean, you're not always going to hit a home run every time. And like, there's no right or wrong way to write a song in my eyes. Like sometimes we'll get halfway done with a song and just be like, man, something about this. It's all about a feeling with us these days. Being, I guess, this long into doing it, and this is maybe our like 5th or 6th process of making a finished product in the studio. We kind of have this feeling, or I kind of have this feeling in my head when you get to a certain spot, when you're writing a song or recording it in the studio, there's usually this one spot where it hits you and you start to have a feeling by listening to it, and you start to hit that, like, this makes me feel this way, or this is starting to make me feel accomplished or like proud of this. And it's like, or it's hitting my heartstrings somewhere too, like emotionally. And if it doesn't happen, by that point, it's like, it should have happened by now. And now maybe we'll leave this one in the bank. And then, but that wasn't the case with all of them that were left off of the EP. I think there's 1 or 2 that we're still excited about, but luckily we're now our next step is heading for LP4. So maybe some of them will creep onto the next album. Who knows?
Who knows? In terms of LP4, is that something you're going to start attempting sooner rather than later? I know obviously it's difficult at this kind of weird time we're in, but are you guys already thinking about ideas for what comes after this?
Yeah, we have, definitely. I think for the past like maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 months, I think we've already been starting to like gather as much as we can for the next album, especially during this lockdown time too. I mean, it should be the most beneficial for bands like us to to start gathering and doing stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of tough, you know, being like cooped up inside and not being able to like see your friends, see a lot of your family, be outside. And those are the kind of things that get me motivated and inspired to write songs. So it's the times like these have been a little less inspiring at sometimes, and it's kind it can kind of get you down, but it shouldn't at the same time. So you got to kind of find ways to inspire yourself during these times and like think in a different way than I normally do. And luckily that's been starting to happen and starting to help a little bit more. So I'm trying to balance that. And I think around like next month or something like that, we're going to finally be able to see each other, all of us in the band, and get in the room again. And that's going to be a big refreshing moment for us too, to start being creative together and start pushing ourselves in person to start the next process and really get the next era, the next chapter of Champs going. So that's exciting for me. I can't wait to see the guys.
Yeah, of course. Suddenly feel like you're hitting the ground running again, I'm sure,
Yeah.
when you can finally get back together and start kind of cracking on things, man.
Yeah, because it's definitely time for new music. I mean, as far we got the new EP coming out, but I mean, we're just so excited to make a new full-length album because now it's been over 2 years.
It's been a minute. Yeah,
it's been 2 years since Living Proof came out, and we don't like to go longer than 2 years to give the fans a full-length album. I'm sure they want it just as much as we do, so we're excited to get back in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of Living Proof as well, you know, obviously it really did take you to kind of bigger heights. You were definitely pushing for a bigger sound. I know we've talked about this before loads of times, but it's like, even thinking back to your reception in the UK, I mean, you got to do things like the Roundhouse, massive show.
Yeah.
And think back to like Download would have just been this weekend or a couple of weekends back. And, you know, seeing you guys there last year, these big shows, big live response to those new songs. What do you feel like were the kind of key learning points from that record that are going to push you forward for LP4?
Yeah, I think it's just all those stepping stones and us setting new goals for ourselves. We did this 10-year anniversary variety show that we did like almost a month ago now, or maybe 3 weeks back, where we kind of reminisced on everything and all of our big achievements and goals over the past 10 years, which was really fun. We went through all of our old tour flyers and old photos from being in the van when we first started and studio footage and whatnot. It was basically a big time capsule for State Champs. So that turned out to be really, really fun. And we started, we were like, what were those big moments that set apart everything else that made us go, man, we're doing it. Here's the next point from going on our first tour, from doing our first tour in the UK. And that was, I couldn't tell you what year it was, but I remember being on the plane going to the UK for the first time. And it was everyone in the band's first time out of the country, first time overseas. And we were so scared to be flying to the UK. So when we were out with the Wonder Years on their Greatest Generation tour, and A Loss for Words was also on the tour, we were just so excited, and just to be in a new country. And we played our first headline show in London at this little place called the Old Blue Last. It's like a tiny little hotel like bar thing. And so comparing those to 6 years down the line, like you just said, selling out a place like the Roundhouse at like 3,500 tickets as a State Champs show. We're not opening for anybody now. It's people coming to see us. It's those kind of things that put it in perspective and kind of like make us really proud and appreciative of those around us that have helped us get to this point. So it's really, really special, and we don't want it to go away. So we just want to keep it going, man. Especially now, we miss it so much. So it makes us more proud and more appreciative than ever, especially now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that 10th anniversary show, because it's such a cool idea. And it's a question I ask like so many people, particularly around like anniversaries and all that kind of stuff. But I'm always fascinated by the answer. It's a cliche, but we're going to go with it, man. If you could go back to the beginning of the band, what advice would you give to yourself back then, man? Is there any little tips you'd give, any little changes you'd make along the way?
If I would to go back to the beginning, I would maybe think about the band name a little bit more. But then again, like, I mean, it's not the worst one to be stuck with 10 years later.
I think
there's a lot of worse band names out there. And I think it works better in the UK than it does in the US, because if it makes sense, because State Champs here, everybody has a state, and like, but I don't know. It's a little bit.
I guess it's more a common phrase, like especially around. I see it sometimes in headlines around like US sports and stuff like that, I suppose. But also, it
took us like 6 years to overtake the Google search State Champs, because it was all like football teams like raising up trophies and stuff for like 6 years, and then finally Now you type in just state champs and it's all us. So that's
what you
good.
want.
We had to take away all the like soccer and basketball photos and like all that search. But on a more serious note, I think I don't know. I would have told myself to just live in the moment a little bit more, be a little bit more appreciative, and just go with the flow, and don't stress out over little things, and kind of, uh, be a little bit more just like organic and stuff. Because down the road, and this is the advice I would always give to newer bands coming up too, like making their first albums, going on their first tours, is to not get in your head so much about if you're in the right place, doing the right things. A lot of bands ask me for like, do you think this is the right move and whatnot? It's like I said now, and I keep talking about this, it's that feeling that you get with all these certain shows, whether it's writing a song or a business decision. It's like, how does it really make you feel? Does it make you excited? Because if you're not stoked on something and it's not making you and your boys, your band happy and doing it for you, then you're probably in it for the wrong reasons anyway. So it's got to be organic and stress-free. Otherwise it's not going to last.
Yeah, very, very wise words, man. It will carry you through that one.
That's a little cliche too. I mean, a lot of people would give that kind of answer in different ways, but it's a real thing, man.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, I think that's a very, very real thing. I think it would make a lot of sense, particularly for any fans watching. I think it definitely makes a lot of sense. Man, it's always good to catch up with you. I'm going to leave you with this, which is kind of what's next. I know you're talking about the writing. You're talking about, obviously, this new release is about to drop. In terms of stuff you're trying to do in lockdown, is there anything else you guys are going to try and do around this release you can tell us about?
I mean, we're just trying to think of more ways to get creative with staying in contact with fans and everyone on the internet and whatnot. It's very easy to just kind of hit Twitter and Instagram, but people can get lost in those algorithms these days. So we're trying to do a lot of cool new things and thinking about like just ways to give back and do cooler things around like merch drops and releasing new music, and how do we like get creative with the process of staying in touch with the fans. So now we're like doing these cool things where fans can text us like right to our phones and whatnot. We have a phone number as a band, so it's like we're trying to do all these like cool new things that I've rarely seen with big artists or bands like us these days. So that stuff has been fun. I sit on my phone all day and just like text fans or like send them videos and selfies and stuff. It's a really cool new thing.
So what kind of messages do you get through? Is it like people sharing memories? What kind of stuff are you getting sent on that
it's
band
cool.
number?
I've seen a lot of cool stuff. Well, it's a lot of memes.
Right. As you might expect.
Yeah. It's a lot of memes. It's a lot of pictures of people's pets, which I am not mad at all. And I'll always reply with pictures of my own pets too. I've got 2 crazy cats in my house, so I send them pictures all day. So and it's people actually ask some serious questions too. People send us music from their own bands, and we check it out, and I'll give advice and feedback and stuff. People ask about new music or about lyrics and stuff, and I mean, I'll just be sitting in bed at night and just reply to a bunch of them. It's a really cool thing because nobody really. You always delete a spam email that comes from something like, here's our blah, 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 blah. It's like something from whether it's like a chain restaurant or if it's a band that's sending you a spam email, you don't really get to it. But the click-through rate and everybody looks at a text that gets sent to your phone. So it's actually a really good business decision for us, and also just like a creative and fun thing for us to interact with the fans. So especially during these times in lockdown, we're trying to get a little outside the box with the creative contact.
Yeah, no, it's a clever idea, man. Clever idea. I'm liking seeing all these bands try new stuff when we've got this time to kill. Try.
We got to do what we can until we can get back out on the road, which is like that's all I'm dying to do, man. It's all I ever knew the past 10 years, and now I've been home for 4 months, starting to go a little stir crazy. So hopefully, as soon as we can and when it's safe, I can't wait to get back out there and in the studio, make new music. Get the ship rolling,
Yeah, get it rolling again, man. It's so funny the amount of bands who've said the same thing to me of just like, it's the weirdest thing being at home. I'm not used to this at all. Like
I'm not either. I mean, it's been a nice time just to kind of like, take care of family and spend time at home and, get things together in our own lives. So it's been good for that, but not for my career and my sanity. So I'm ready to get that back in shape.
Absolutely, man. Well, on that note, Derek, EP's cool, man, and looking forward to seeing what else you guys come up with in the next few months. But for now, really appreciate it.
We always have great chats, man. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, man. All right, appreciate it. Derek, everybody.